He's gonna get. He's gonna fight me. He's a big Viking. He thinks he's awesome.
Hey everybody, this is me, the Undead Viking. Last year at Gen Con, I was just wandering around and checking out different booths and whatever. And I didn't even see what booth it was. I didn't even see like any of the other games. I just saw this fantastic game board that had that looked exactly like a hockey rink, that had these fantastic little hockey miniatures on it. And I was just astounded by it. I was just like, oh my gosh, what is this? And then I looked up and I recognized like some publisher friends of mine that I'd met quite a long time ago. And they showed me the game and I dinked around with it. And I'm from Minnesota. Well, actually, technically I'm from North Dakota, but I live in Minnesota now. And Minnesota is the state of hockey, as you may or may not know. And I grew up being a Minnesota North Stars fan. I played hockey poorly in my younger age, and I've always just been a big fan of hockey, and like now I'm a fan of the Minnesota Wild and whatever. But I just enjoy the sport, and I always have. And the thing is that there's all those kinds of, like, there are lots of sports games out there. Like, you know, there's you know, football games, there's baseball games, there's basketball games, there's all these different games out there for these different sports. But I mean, there really isn't hockey games. I mean, there's an old like Stratomatic hockey game. I played that. You know, I think there was an APA hockey game that I played as well. But I mean, those are more like simulation games. And to find like an actual like real freaking hockey game was really exciting to me. And so when I told them, I was like, when is this going to be published? When are you going to do this? And they're like, oh, we're going to go to Kickstarter with it eventually. I was like, oh, just send me a copy. I want to play it. I want to be able to like check it out, and I want to be able to do a video for you. And so they were kind enough to finally get me one. And here it is. This is Trick Shot. It's a fantastic game that has its roots in Blood Bowl, and I'll mention that a few times, I'm sure. But it has its roots in Blood Bowl as far as moving your little your figures around, having them affect the other figures, having them set up for different actions, but it has a push your luck aspect to it. I mean, basically, you're gonna say, I'm gonna do this action with this particular character, and then you're gonna roll dice, and then depending upon if you succeed, then you're gonna be able to take another action. Then you can take another action, but each time you take another action, it's gonna get more and more difficult for you to succeed at that particular action. So you're gonna be trying to string together several different actions that are going to get you to a point where you're gonna be able to take a shot on the goal, and then score a goal, and then hopefully you'll play an entire game and you'll come out the winner. So anyway, let me show you how the play the game of Trick Shot, and we'll come back here and I'll give you my final thoughts. This is Trick Shot. I'm going to explain to you exactly how this game is played here. But at first I want to just tell you what you're looking at as far as, well, the hockey rink that you see in front of you. These are the different players. Obviously, if you've looked at the Kickstarter page, these are going to be represented in awesome miniatures. I do invite you to go check those out if you haven't already done so. There are these particular players. There are three different kinds. There are centers, which have a speed of 3 and a checking ability or size of 2. The size determines whether or not you are able to check or like try to like hit or affect the opposing players. So like if you are smaller than the other or the same size as the other figure, then you can't do anything. Wingers are these like super fast little tiny dudes. They have a speed of 3, just like the centers, but centers have a size of 2. So centers can actually affect the smaller wingers. The big guys, the defensemen, are considered to be a size of 3, so they can affect everything other than other defensemen, but they only have a speed of 2, so they aren't very quick. So those are your offensive players and defensive players, for that matter. Now each team will have a goalie, as you can see there. They can't hit or they can't be attacked, basically, or affected by other players, and neither can they do that themselves, and they only have a speed of 1. They are also the only characters that are allowed to be in these 3 spots, which, if you know your hockey terminology, that is the crease. They're the only people that are allowed to enter that location, and they will be the ones on the last line of defense for your goal. So the game is played over a course of 12 turns. You can either decide to play like a real hockey game, or you can do 3 periods. So you'll go through 12 turns over here, and you'll do that for each period, or if you like, you can go ahead and play it in like just like a 1 period type of friendly match and to see what happens. You can see there are these 3 cardboard tokens over here for each team. Each of these is considered to be what's called a line change. Basically what that is that there are line change cards, and I'll talk about those there in a little bit, but we'll get over to those later on in the explanation. But these have 2 different sizes. One is like shows the players all like tired and exhausted here, and then here they are fresh and ready to go. When basically, since this is kind of a push your luck dice game, you flip one of these line change cards over to be able to reset your team and basically get to do a re-roll. So pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Now I have some normal dice that I have for the game themselves. Now the dice themselves that come with the game will have these icons on them, as you can see here. They'll have an X, which is a fail, which in this case would be a 1 when you roll these dice. These are bounce, and I'll explain what these do with the different effects when they happen. But there's bounce, and then success is a blank, and then reaction is a 4. So we'll just keep that in mind as I show you how this is played and when we roll these dice and see what happens. Now, when the game begins, and normally, like the first time you play, they say don't bother using the line change cards, but there are different ways that you distribute those before the game begins. Like sometimes you just hand each player 4 cards, or like you'll draft cards or whatever. But once again, I will show you those cards later and we'll talk about them in just a little bit. But to begin the game, and also like after like certain situations, you will have a face-off. A face-off is each person will roll 4 dice, and whoever gets the most of these puck bounce results over here, so basically 2s or 3s, will then take over the puck. So in this case, this team would get 1, 2, and then let's just roll for the red team, see what we get here. And what's this one going to be? It's going to be 2 2s. So the red team would get control of the puck. So what you do is you take the puck and you hand it to and put it on the character that has that particular puck, and then you're good to go. Now, the big thing with these particular, there's one big rule that you have to keep in mind. Whenever there is a person that has the puck, like in this case, there's a person that has a puck right there, and they are next to an opposing, or like a person next to them, that person has that person in check, meaning that they can't do much with what's going on. Like I'm not going to be able to like shoot the puck, but I can pass it away. It should be noted that while characters are able to move diagonally, somebody that's diagonally close to your character is not considered to check that character. You're only going to check if you're right next to it. So I can't move away, I can't shoot the puck, I can't do anything. All I can do is pass it. And I should also mention that only the puck carrier can be ever checked. So like these 2 characters aren't checking each other in any way, shape, or form. They're free to move and do whatever. But the way the game works is that you start with 1 die. And what you're going to do is you're going to activate, on your turn, you activate one of your characters, and you're going to say you're going to take an action with them. So let's just say I'm going to say I want to move this winger. Because my idea is that I want to move this winger over to the side right like this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to want to go ahead and pass that over to that character. Now passes can be diagonal. You could pass straight back like this. Or like if this defenseman was over here, I could say I'm going to pass it to them. That would be a diagonal pass back to those 3 spots. And passes don't really have a distance. Like you could pass from one side to the other as long as it was a free pass. Like if there was somebody in the way, whether it is another player or whether it is like so and so. Like even if I wanted to pass that particular character, like you can't pass through another character. Likewise, you can't pass through the net, and well, you can probably guess that there's going to be just certain things that are going to block those things. So, like in this case, like I said, if I wanted to move, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that 1 die, and a move action, the thing about a move action is always going to work. However, if you roll a fail, your turn's going to be over. So let's just see, make sure I don't get a 1. So I got a 3. And a 3 is a bounce result. A bounce result doesn't have any effect on this particular roll whatsoever. So I'm going to be able to go ahead and move my character. Now, the interesting reaction is a 4 in this case is called a reaction result. So a 4 would be like I'd still get to move, but then a reaction result allows the opponent player to take one of their people and they can move them one spot, regardless of the speed of that particular character. They get to move one. So you could take like this defenseman and move him here. Like he's going to be, I want to get that the blue player says, I want to get this defenseman over towards this winger in case like he wants to get past. So like that would be a reaction if I rolled a 4. So then what happens is I'm going to add another die to my dice pool if I want to continue on taking actions. So now I can say, well, I want to do my pass action. So now I'm going to go ahead and I have to roll 2 dice to pull this off. Let's just see what I get here. And I'm going to, oh, look at that. Okay, perfect. So you'll notice I got a 5, which is good. Then that means that my action has succeeded. However, I rolled a fail, and I'm trying to pass pass the puck over to my winger, and I don't like that at all. I don't want to fail that. So now, if I wanted to, I could spend one of my rerolls to go ahead and reroll the non-failed dice. Now, I mean, like if there was like a reaction die or anything like that, I could those would reroll. The only ones you reroll are the don't reroll, I should say, are the ones that have a success on them. So it's like if a 5 or a 6, I would not reroll those dice. Now, for the sake of showing you how a fail works, I'm going to do a couple of things just to kind of create a situation for you. So let's just say we kept this roll, and because we didn't want to use up our rerolls. So what happens with one fail, which we have over here, but we did not actually, because we only had 2 dice, we didn't roll any bounce results. This puck is still going to be successfully passed over to this player, making this person the puck carrier. However, what's going to happen is that particular, my turn now is done, and then the other player is going to be able to take their actions. Now, probably at this point I might have done a reroll to reroll that die, but instead, let's just show you something else. So if there was another die that had been rolled, and I gotten a bounce result like that, what that means is that for every bounce result added to the failures means that the puck goes 1 space more than the direction that I wanted. Now this is actually kind of interesting because, okay, for one, if the winger had been there and I tried to pass to them and I grabbed that bounce result, the puck would end up in that location. My turn would still be over. But since I'm over on the edge of the edge of the ice rink here, what's going to happen is it actually is going to bounce back, like and go back. Now, if this was a diagonal pass, let's just say it was passed by this defenseman, and I rolled that result, you would bounce back like in a 45-degree angle. So if it came like this, it would bounce to here. And I should mention right now, like, you know, when you say we can pass diagonal, like this is not diagonal, because you actually have to go like diagonal like this. This is not, you can't, you know, oh, I got line of sight, like you're playing a war game or something like that. This is not like a valid pass. It has to actually be like a true diagonal for it to be bounced. So in this case, like I said, like if we got that particular result that we had before, he would just get the puck, but my turn would be over. And now the other player would go. So let's just kind of go with that. Let's see what happens. Now the other player gets to go. And so what they're going to want to do is they're going to want to go ahead and get this puck back. And there's a couple ways you can do that. And since I have these two particular characters in these two locations, I want to actually show you both of them. Now, the good one is like the one that you can do without having a big chance of having a bad failure situation. What you're going to happen is you're going to roll a die, and like this is for my move. So I'm going to roll a 4, and a 4 is a reaction, but I'm still going to be able to do my move. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move this winger right next to that winger, and then this team would get to do one reaction move. So let's just go ahead and move that defenseman closer to this location. But now we can do an action which is called a poke. Now a poke is just basically like, you know, a character trying to like poke the puck away from the other player. It's a pretty non-violent way to do it. I'm going to get to the violent way here in just a second. But this is a pretty non-violent way to try to get the puck away from the player. So now this is my second action. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a die to my dice pool right now, and I'm going to go ahead and try to get a success. Now remember, I'm looking for 5s and 6s. As long as I don't get a failure though, this should still work. So let's go ahead and see what I get here. And okay, I got a 5, which is success, and a 2, which is going to be a poke symbol. I mean a bounce symbol. Now this would be a successful poke. I would be able to go ahead and steal that particular puck away. But let's just, for example, I'm going to do a couple other things that are possible. So let's go ahead and give myself a failure. Let's go ahead and put that 1 down there so I have a failure. That would just be that a straight out failure, meaning that I wasn't able to get the hockey puck away and my turn is over. But if I had rolled like 3 dice and I had gotten another failure, what happens then is that I've been whistled for a penalty, and this is something that can actually, obviously be been. When you get a penalty, you have to go to the penalty box, which is over there, and you have to be in the penalty box for 2 turns before that player can leave. So you're going to have to play shorthanded if you have a penalty occur. All right, so, and as always, if the puck does switch to the other player, then, at that point, you can continue on with your particular, it doesn't end the turn if you succeed at taking the puck. If, this character takes it, now I can continue to go. Now, obviously, he would have to probably pass it back because he's in check right now. He'd have to, pass it or, back, or, he'd have to move a character, into a spot where then they can be passed and so on and so forth. And this is where you kind of, start putting moves together and start, one by one type of, put, a plan or a strategy together, and I probably mentioned this again, but I liken this a lot to a very simplified version of Blood Bowl, a game that I played a lot of, and I really enjoy that game. And this is also the thing where you have to kind of chain different characters doing things at the same time to kind of get yourself in the position to be successful. But I'll talk more about that probably in my final thoughts. But anyway, regardless, that's the fairly non-violent way that you can get the puck back. Now, the other one you can do is called the hit, or the check. And so here we have our big bruising defenseman, and he has a line of sight. Basically, he has this diagonal line of sight, and he has that poor little winger in his crosshairs. So it's called a hit action. I call it a check action. But what you have to do is you have to be able to make a valid move that would get you up to that character. And as I said, the size of the characters matters. So in this case, we have a size 3 versus a size 1. And so we're going to go ahead and do it. So now, what's going to happen is that you're going to move in like so, and you're going to make your check again by rolling your dice. Now, if you have a success on this one, you're going to, regardless of what happens, you're going to push the character back. So what's going to happen is this character is going to go, because once again, just like if the puck hits the side and diagonal, you're going to push them back. If it was a situation where they're up against the wall like this, and you came and hit them, you would just switch places like so. For a hit action. But when you roll your I'm going to roll ahead and just roll 3 dice just for fun. If you get any fails at all in this situation, and I did, that is an automatic penalty. Whereas the poke, you had to have 2 penalties for it to work, and then it would be a fail. And this would probably be a situation where I'd want to re-roll my dice and use one of my re-rolls to do that, because this is a success anyway. But if you do succeed, so let's just kind of cheat here, and let's go 6, and let's say a 4, so they get a reaction, and a 6. The puck would change hands, like so, and then, quite possibly, we have a reaction move, just kind of get, your red getting their defense into place so they could go ahead and prevent the player, the blue player from getting into a spot where they could score, or hopefully, not get closer to the net. Now, a couple of things about the last thing that's important is obviously shooting. How you score points. Now, there's a couple of things you have to remember. If you've played hockey, you probably know about offsides. The big thing is that basically what offsides is that it doesn't allow players to basically sandbag and, oh, the wrong color. It doesn't allow players to sandbag and put characters in one of the offensive area, which is the blue line back here. This is the offensive area. It doesn't allow players to sit back there and wait for a pass, basically. We used to call that the suck hole. Like when we played the one person who always stayed at the other side of the basketball court, or like the same thing in hockey or broom ball we used to play. But anyway, regardless, you can't do that. There's rules against it. So in order for you in order for things to happen, you have to, the person with the puck has to be the person that crosses the blue line first, or the puck itself has to cross the blue line first, and then the other players can go ahead and cross the blue line. Now, there's an interesting situation though, is if, I'm of course moving the wrong color people because I can't remember, so like then you could have other red players go across, and now you can get ready to try to take a shot and be able to score on the net. So let's just talk about scoring really quick. And shooting works pretty simple. You have to have a direct line. Once again, you're going to be shooting diagonally and what have you. So like if you have, like here, this is a diagonal shot that would be into the net over here, and you're not being blocked by the goalie. If the goalie was there, you wouldn't be able to take that shot. You could shoot from here in there as well, so you can shoot straight on. Now that would just be a normal shot. This would be, and you would just roll the number of dice that you're in your dice pool and try to get successes and try not to get failures to score the point. When you roll a shot, you're just going to roll the dice that have you, and as long as you don't get any failures, which of course I think these dice are weighted on me or something, as long as you don't roll any failures, you would go ahead and score the goal. So I'm going to spend a reroll. See what happens here. Let's see. There we go. So as long as with a shot, like if you roll no X symbols, your team scores the goal. The turn ends, and then you reset your board, and your opponent's center just takes possession of the puck. There's no roll off or a face off or anything like that. That's to give the other team a chance to go ahead and score. Now there is a way you can score by actually being beyond the blue line, and you can take a shot. It's called a slap shot. And if you do a slap shot, you can't you can never re-roll, like if you don't get whatever you roll, whatever many dice you're rolling, you can't re-roll using one of your re-rolls to do so. And whatever your dice pool is, you add 2 dice to your dice pool to be success. So let's just see if I can actually get lucky here and not roll a 1. Oh well, I rolled horribly. So that's a failure. Now this is actually interesting, and I'm kind of glad I rolled this. So notice I got 2 1s. If you roll 2 X symbols, it's considered to be a save, and in that situation that means the goalie got in the way of the puck and he gloved it, or he stopped it, dropped it down in front of him, and he gets it. But if you roll 1 symbol, and that's 2 or more I should say, if you roll 1 symbol, it's a rebound, the goal isn't scored, the puck changes direction and continues moving after the rebound, and then the turn ends. If the shot was diagonal, the shot will bounce diagonally, and the shot was orthogonal, the bounces back orthogonally, and then you move the puck enough squares to leave the crease. So these 3 particular spots there, and then squares equal to the number of the bounce rolls that you got. So we got 1 bounce. So let's just say that was what happened. So like you did a slap shot, even though the goalie wasn't there, you failed. So actually let's change this to, let's just give myself another bounce. So what would happen is it bounces, we get it out of the crease to begin with. And so if I didn't roll any bounces, it would end up there. But it's going to go ahead and bounce back 2 more spots there. And so that's where the puck would end up. And the puck can get free like that a lot. Remember, because like if you pass and you pass too far, it can bounce off the walls and whatever. And that's another thing I really like about the game too. It just feels like the puck reacts normally to like the actions that happen to it. So, and those are like the basic actions of the game. As I said, there's one other thing, and it's a very, very important rule, and I think they did this because they realized it kind of made it tough. So when like you have like all these, because when you get the offensive players and the defensive players are all fighting over the puck and they're trying to score. What inevitably will happen is that like the puck will change hands, and you have to do what's called the offsides movement when that does. Basically, this allows everybody to kind of speed up and switch and allow you to keep the game moving and don't have any kind of a bog down to the action that's going on. So what happens is that once it's called the offside move. And after any activation during any player's turn, the puck leaves the offensive zone. So let's say something happens where this puck got bounced over. Let's just say there was a bad pass. Like let's say this guy tried to pass back to him, and we gotta like let's put him there, and we rolled too hard, and the puck ends up there. All right, so now we have a situation where it's going to be like kind of like it's going to be a long time before we can get everybody regrouped and put everything back. So what happens is that place all the attacking players who were in the offensive zone in the first empty square across the blue line in the direction of their net. So we would just automatically just move these people back here. And I'm just going to put this guy over here just so I can show you this. If the first square is occupied, then you just go ahead and place it on the other side like that. Then you take the defending players and you go ahead and you line them up at the very not the goalie. You line them up at the very front on the other side of the blue line, like so. So you kind of bunch everybody back up to kind of free up some space, and everybody gets into the spots they can do it. You take their actions, and then you can go from there. And I think that's just so like I said, the flow of the game keeps moving and keeps moving well. All right, so that's the basic instructions of the game. I mean, it is way more strategic than I gave it credit for. I thought, well, okay, it's a push your luck game, but like I said, I can't help but think that the people that designed this game were big fans of Blood Bowl, because Blood Bowl is in its it is a push your luck dice game as well, and with just strategic choices for your different players and the different characters and the different abilities. All right, I told you I was going to talk about these line change cards, and these are really, really simple. Like I said, there's multiple ways that these can be handed out. Like you can just be dealt out 4 random cards, but all these just basically have like a special little ability on it. Like this one says pass to an empty square and then +1 dice. You can just if you wanted to just chuck you don't have to pass to a person, you can just chuck it all the way down the rink if you wanted to do that. And that just gives you that power. And that, here's like roll 2 fewer dice on a slap shot, and that would just negate those 2 dice that you're normally added when you take a slap shot attack. There's some here where like this one's a good one, like failed pass / shot does not end the turn. So if you fail the pass, you can continue playing, and then the other player still has to wait. Now, when you do line changes, however, like these particular the cards, like you'll start off with like 4 of these normally, and what happens is that you'll pick one of those 4 and you'll put it face down. The other opponent will put one face down. You'll both flip them over at the same time, and that'll be like the special power and ability you have that particular like line change. But obviously these will swap out, and then you'll go to your next one after the fact. Now there's plenty of these, which I think these are really cool. You don't have to play with these if you just want to not play with the special little power or something. You certainly can, and the game is still a lot of fun to play even without those. But I do like, I played the game like this a couple times, and then I added those cards, and I thought it kind of breathed a lot of life and a lot of differences into the game that I really, really enjoyed. So there you go. I was not disappointed by this at all. Like I said, when I first saw this at Gen Con, I was like, oh man, I can't believe it, a hockey game. Finally a hockey game. I've been waiting for a really good hockey game, and I finally have it. I'm super excited. I was super excited to play it. It held up. It was as good as I thought it would be, and I can't wait to get the final one in my hands. But let me talk more about that in my final thoughts. Okay, so there we go. Trick shot. All right. The game's awesome. Go out and get it. If you're a fan of hockey, I think you owe yourself to own a copy of Trick Shot, just because, one, there aren't a lot of hockey games out there, and it's a really, really, really fun game. You don't have to play the full game either. Like I said, you can definitely just play a shortened, abridged version of the game that you can just play quickly and efficiently, just play a period. You can even just say, hey, let's just play 16 turns instead of 12, whatever. You can just work with the other player and just play an abridged game and have some fun with it. The thing about the game is that what I really liked was the fact that, like I said, and I don't know for sure if it was like they had played Blood Bowl before, but Blood Bowl is a game that I played a ton of, a game that I absolutely just freaking love to play both like online and also like with another person sitting at a table. But it does have a lot of rules and has a lot of things going on, and unless you're very, very well acquainted with how the game works, it can be a bit of a slog. So having a game like this that just feels like it, even if they didn't mean to base it on it at all, just the game feels like you're playing Blood Bowl. And being able to set it up and be able to just go and have fun and be able to, just score different points and have the game feel like a real hockey game. Like I mentioned, the puck, like bouncing off the walls and going too far. It feels like a kinetic, realistic experience. But it has so few rules going on that you can just sit there and play. So hockey is a very fast-paced game. So here we have a fast-paced game as well. So there isn't a lot of minutia to get bogged down in. There's just you and the other player trying to figure out where to put your pieces, put your players in the best possible spots they can have it, and then you're always going to end up with exciting finishes. Is like you realize that there's only like a certain number of turns left and you're down by 1 goal, and so when it's your turn to go with the puck, you're just going to be pushing your luck and pushing your luck and pushing your luck and rolling more and more dice and taking that desperation slap shot trying to score a goal with this just like 1 turn left kind of thing going on. And when you have those kinds of things, you end up with games that tell stories. You have games that, like in sessions, that just kind of get you excited and charged up, where you're cheering your luck and bemoaning your bad luck and laughing at the misery of your opponent. It's one of those things where the game itself becomes an experience, one that you remember. You see the game box on your shelf and you say, oh man, I've had so much fun playing that game. You take it down again, you set it up, you find some poor sap to play against, and hopefully you can beat that person as well. And that is why I play games like Trick Shot. I mean, yes, I played hockey. I was a horrible goalie. I can still remember Coach Miller saying, stay up, Mikester, stay up, yelling at me because I would always go down. I'd always think I had to go down to try to block the puck, but he would always say, keep your legs underneath you, keep your legs underneath you. And I remember, like, whenever there'd be a time when, like, the guy with the puck was coming at me, he'd just start yelling it from the bench, but I always went down, and yeah, I wasn't a really good goalie. But I mean, here I can be a good player, right? Because I can strategize and I can figure out what I want to do, and I can play the best possible game I can that is a hockey-related game in the board game world that exists right now. And I can't wait, like I said, to get the final version with the really cool miniatures, and I'll be able to play this over and over again against my daughter, against my son, against my friends, against my wife, whoever will give me the time of day and allow me to play this. So there you go. That is Trick Shot. If you have any questions about it, please ask away. I'll be happy to answer those as best as I can. As always, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. Be the best version of you that you possibly can be. Try to spread as much happiness and love out into the universe. I guarantee you the universe will work its hardest to give it right back. I'm the Undead Viking. You're awesome. I will talk to you again soon.